Welcome to PLZ Soccer's football show. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Hugh McDonald here with me in the studio. Delighted to have your company. We will be joined by our North East reporter, Andrew Shiney, who'll be talking all things Aberdeen with their new manager in place. Is it a new dawn? We certainly hope so on a Monday, to get Andrew's thoughts on how this Aberdeen side under Jim Goodwin develops. But we'll be talking about things that have transpired at the top of the Scottish Premiership and at the bottom end of it over Saturday and Sunday. So there's lots to talk about, and hopefully if you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get all the notifications of our unique content. There's lots to talk about, and we'd love to read out some of your messages as well and try and keep it as sane as you possibly can, please, and decent. So good to have Hugh in on a Monday, by the way. He's usually in on a Tuesday when nobody can contest his opinion, but I think he's in for I think he could be in for a rough 60 minutes.
An absolute roasting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Tam, actually, the good thing about Tam is no respect for people who have actually served their time, Hugh.
Quite right too. In my case, he's quite right to have no respect.
So we will get the thoughts of Tam as well on the Hibbies. I was through there watching Hibs against Ross County. An unhappy Malky Mackay and a rather delighted Jake Doyle-Hayes. So we'll cut across all of Scottish football. Let's start with that game, the first one, of course, on the Sunday, which was Rangers with a chance to build on that superb result against Borussia Dortmund. But unfortunately, Dundee had other ideas, managed to get the first goal, battled away, and in the end got a share of the spoils with a point up at Tannadice.
Yeah, I think you have to say that Rangers were far better side in the second half. You know, some of the chances they created were more than what Dundee United could try and get. You know, they just sat in and said, right, we're trying see out 1-0, and Rangers just kept coming and coming and coming. Some of the misses were absolutely incredible. But although you have to give Rangers credit for the way they played in the second half, you also have to give credit to Dundee United, the way they defended. You know, resolute, you know, fighting, just putting Charlie Mulgrew, a block he had for a shot was just typical of what the Dundee United defence was all about. You know, we're just trying to stop every effort, but the stats there at the end of the game were there for everybody to see that there was only one team trying to win that game in the end.
Yeah, a lot of contentious things in the game to talk about as well, Hugh, but first and foremost, it was a good goal for United to get ahead.
Yep, and a really disappointing one from Rangers as well. You know, the header wasn't quite a free header, but Helander was brushed off too easily in the centre of defence. So it was a bad goal to lose. They'll look at that and say, and again they'll look at it again and say, in the match, Dundee United are looking at set pieces, aren't they, to get a goal? I mean, they know that there's not going to be gilt-edged chances during the game. They're not going to cut Rangers open. And you'd have thought Rangers' concentration, there was a kind of lack of concentration as well at the set piece. But fair play to the lad, he took it well, good header, wanted it and scored. And from then on, that gives, you know, if you're just back from Dortmund, a great result in Dortmund, landed in Glasgow sometime on Friday, you're up in Dundee in a wet and rainy day, you've given the other team a lot of encouragement by going a goal behind. It then becomes a really difficult afternoon.
Yeah, and with that in mind though, the Rangers' possession, their shots, not all of them on target. I think there's something like 29. You know, but that was relentless. You could see the goal coming, but Rangers fans wanted 2 goals.
Yeah, I don't think they were ruthless enough, Peter, in the final third. I think they had a lot of crosses, a lot of dangerous situations, balls flashed across the goal, but we weren't ruthless enough. I think the lad in loans that Ahmad goes through, he's got to score. You know, Diallo, he's got to score. You know, he hits the post. I think that was their best opportunity to go win the game. Dundee United defended superbly second half, backs to the wall. You know, a lot of energy. You know, and throwing themselves in front of tackles. But Rangers, they should have won the game. You know, you can talk about a couple of decisions we'll probably go into, but I just don't think they were ruthless enough in the final third. I don't think they took their chances.
Yeah, and with that point that Tam is alluding to, Ruffy, I thought of the 2 penalty claims that they were looking for. One of them, the first one, I think, soft if that was given. Second one's a Stonewaller. I mean, he's got a grip of Sakala's jersey.
Yes, it's a Stonewall penalty, there's no doubt about that. You know, the referee will have a get out by saying his view was blocked or whatever, you know, but he'll certainly see it later on in the video that it was a clear pull of the jersey. But the handball thing, to actually try and claim a penalty for the ball not going anywhere near the goal. You know, it was going out the park when the boy pulled his hand back. I mean, that just shows you how stupid it is now. This handball that you're claiming for penalty kicks, for it's not even a threatening a goal.
Well, I think they were looking at it whether it was, was it in an unnatural position? The answer is emphatically no. And it travelled a fair distance as well. And it looked as if anything, it would have brushed across his arm. He was trying to get it out of the way. But some people would say, no, they want a penalty for it.
Yeah, some people would, but not me. I don't
Do you
think
think
it's a penalty.
VAR, if it was in, would have looked at that and said penalty?
I don't think so.
No?
I think there's a still photograph angle that shows that his arm's out, you know, because it just shows you that still photographs are not the thing. The guy's making every attempt to get out of it. I don't think they would have given that. But the other one is absolutely, as you said, is a very, look for a stone wall in the dictionary, you get a picture of it. Referee, okay, can get away with it and say, right, I couldn't see it. But I find it really hard for the assistant, because that is where the assistant should be looking anyway. The assistant should be looking right across that line, looking for offside in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be his focus. And that's a bad one to miss, a really bad one.
I think, you're talking about a ref assisted by 3 other officials, Tam. I mean, it's not as if he actually has the first tug and then he has a second tug at him.
It's a Stonewall penalty kick. I mean, Stu's hit the nail on the head there. No, he's looking right across the line, the linesman. You should be able to see that. It's just a clear, he just yanks him back.
Yeah.
He's going to put it in the net, let's be honest, he's going to score. And he just yanks him back and has a gamble, the defender, that he's not going to get pulled up for it, and it's a bad one to miss with the referee.
Yeah, this is what Giovanni van Bronckhorst had to say about, obviously, the decisions. Some go for you, some don't. But the Rangers manager says VAR will make it easier. These decisions can be turning points and change games. What can we do? There's no VAR, so with every decision that the referee will make, it can't be overturned. We saw last Thursday how VAR decisions changed for us. Maybe it could have today as well. We can talk for hours, but the discussion ends because there is no VAR. Well, that's a fairly calm point of view on it, but when you get to the nitty-gritty end of the season, suddenly these points can become so crucial. Another couple of things which VAR would almost certainly pick up on were the 2 challenges. Charlie Mulgrew left it in there, and Ryan Jack left his boot in on the Dundee United player, and quite high up. So the 2 of them, I think, might be facing retrospective penalties.
Possibly. I think Charlie Mulgrew's is low. Is the only thing I would say in his defence. He's no high. I don't think there's a lot. And Ryan Jack, I've been critical about Ryan Jack before about tackles. The one on Stevie May was a shocker. I feel as if it was a poor tackle, but I feel as if he was trying to pull out it at the end. I do genuinely feel he was trying to pull out of that tackle at the end. Could it have been a red card? Yes, it probably could. Will he get done? Possibly. But for me, I didn't see a real intent to go right through him. I seen him. He knew he was high, and I felt as if he was trying to pull out at the last minute. That's just my opinion. A lot of people disagree with that, but he could possibly get done with it. But I didn't see a real intent, as in the Stevie May tackle, where you can see him going in and going, here, have that. I don't think it was that kind of tackle. Yeah,
okay, I'll disagree with you on the basis that I think it doesn't matter about the fact that you didn't mean to pull out of it. You still did it, and whether it's high or low on the leg, Mulgrew's is on the ankle, and Jack's is just below the knee.
Yeah, I think both reds, and I think they'll be, who knows who decides with the. It's one of the great mysteries of the world how the compliance officer gets involved. But I think any referee looking at both of them would say that's a red.
Yeah. Apparently, it's an agnostic in North Korea who decides.
I say some Buddha,
no affiliation with anybody.
Some Buddha somewhere. I mean, it's just. But the Ryan Jack one in particular looked towards the end as if it was a bit of petulance as well, because that was literally the last kick of the game.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Hugh, just get your thoughts on this. Despite taking a fair bit of abuse, Alison, for our column last week in the PLZ Soccer website, Aaron Ramsey missed out with a minor knock. He hasn't been playing as much as quite a few Rangers fans would like to see him playing.
Yeah, there was a lot of Rangers fans, and of course Aaron Ramsey's agent, which you would expect, wouldn't like it. I mean, that's his job not to like it. By like it, I mean like comments about his client. But I think you'll find it in last night in Rangers message boards and amongst Rangers fans, there was more people coming around to Alison's point of view, which was actually a very kind of mild point of view. It was only a matter of opinion about saying, you know, who do you buy in a transfer window? Do you buy somebody that's up and running and ready to go, or do you buy somebody that needs time? And it would seem to me a very rational and reasonable point of view that you would want somebody who would make an impact coming in on loan immediately.
Yeah, who needs rational in this country? Okay, so suddenly it's 1-1, the game's over, and then at Celtic Park, I think everybody possibly thought this was going to be a walk in the park. Far from it, Ruffy.
Yeah, it certainly was a bad first goal for Celtic to lose, defending ball into the area, you know. Once you go behind, you know, it doesn't matter who you're playing, you're under a wee bit of pressure, but they did, you know, fight back quite quickly after that, and then obviously got the second one. But again, the defence looked shaky when put under pressure, and again the second one for Dundee, you know, that could have turned possibly the fans in Parkhead with the result in midweek there, but he came up with the goods. The big man came up with a good. He looks that kind of centre forward. He's just going to put his head in and get hurted. And
is this Giacomakis?
Yes.
Are you worried about trying to pronounce it?
Giacomakis.
Yeah.
There you go. Whoa,
George.
Whoa. Giacomakis got a hat trick, and Giacomakis was fantastic. It was just one of these. I thought it was the first goal in particular. I thought was a really good goal, but it's not convincing, you know, 3-2 against the bottom team in the league. So maybe they're just going through a wee wobble. Maybe the energy levels they're playing at are beginning to take effect. But they have got 2 or 3 players that can come back in. But you'll take the result and you'll move on.
Yeah, well, he tweaked the team selection, Tam, you know, so Giacomakis is, if having watched him on a regular basis, he scored 4 goals in the last 3 games. He always hits the target. He just hasn't had that bit of luck with it. He hasn't had that clinical edge to him. But I thought his third goal was the best one of them all, because he put his head in a dangerous place to get the goal.
Yeah, I think he's very much a penalty box striker. I don't think he's going to come and take part and come short and show for the ball and play the ball wide. You know, he's in the box to score goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Celtic signed him. You know, he was top goal scorer in Holland for a reason. You know, he just stays in the box, and he's a 6-sharp box player. His third goal was superb. You know, he checked away, then got across the defender, and as you said, put his head in where it hurts and got that winning goal. So I think the Celtic supporters will be delighted. I think they were a wee bit unsure about him, to be honest.
Yeah.
At the start, obviously missed the penalty in the last minute, I think, against Livingston, which didn't endear him to supporters, but he's got them back on side with that hat-trick.
Yeah, and he's not unsure about himself. He thinks now Celtic will win the league.
We showed that we're a better team. That's obvious. We show that we work harder in the field. And I hope that, and I think that we will win the championship. It's something that we really want. For us and for the club and for the fans.
Okay, his manager's in a darkened room scalping his head off a wall.
The media man's getting revived.
Exactly.
Glad there's a defibrillator in every press room now.
Delighted you've seen that.
See, at that point, you're just thinking, I mean, Ange Postecoglou's done everything to avoid that sort of line. He's out there.
And every journalist is just going, yes.
Yeah. I like the Greeks, and I love the Aussies. They have that same no-nonsense approach to it.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Peter, because when I heard that, it brought me back, flashback to Georgios Samaras. Said exactly the same thing about 10 years ago, maybe more, and it was like I always remember it was at Lennoxtown, and it was like the press was like the scene from Aeroplane. You know how they all run down the stairs and they run into the telephone booth and it goes over, because not only did they say, oh, we'll win the league,
Yeah.
but everybody said, oh, you know, it was like the thing, well, we'll go again, you know, we've got something, but let's go again. And you've not got a great view of Rangers. Oh, no, they don't play very good football. So my intro was that Georgios Samaras thought Rangers was a Taverna team.
You know, I have to say, Rob, I mean, from you two as footballers, that is the one moment of joy I think you know, in the press we get. And there is a moment, Ruffy, if a player is forthright, the big guy played up front who played for Livingston, who moved to Queen's Park Rangers, Big Shyness. Dykes. He's brilliant because, you know, the lines come out and in the press, you know, we're all sitting there and we all just go like this.
Well, your big pal Michael Higdon, celebrated one of the great moments of my life was watching the interview of him when he won Player of the Year. He was the same. He came up one day after a game at Celtic Park, and there was something over a handball for the Celtic first goal, and one of the pressmen who'd asked him up, a sharp pressman who'd noticed this protest, said to him, "Michael, listen, cut to chase. The reason we're up here is you were protesting over a handball at Celtic goal," and he just went with that Scouse accent. He just he slaughtered the referee so much that when he went out, I said to him, "We put a wee collection in for his taxi to Hampden." Maybe a wee bit left over for the fine. I mean, it's just like
I can remember. I don't know if you remember. I was at Hibs. We played Rangers at Ibrox, and we get beat 2-1. I actually scored, but. Who's a big Dutch boy who played with him? Centre midfield.
Tournament.
Yes. No. Ball came into the box, he went up, bang, handball, right? Clear as day, just handballed it, we were screaming. It was the last 10 minutes of the game, 2-1 down, screaming, referee, play on. So I was doing the press after the game, and I says, we're cheated, referees. I see the guy David Forsyth at Hibs at the PR man, I could just see him, the colour down his face. He's going, shut up, I'm going, you never get it right. Cheated.
But to be fair...
What was it? Did you know, I don't know if it was Higdon or somebody else at the Player of the Year, when they come up to get their award and you says to him, I'm sure all your teammates are here today. And he went, yeah, we've got a table over there. And he said, I'm sure you'd like to thank them.
Oh, Alan Russell.
Was it Alan Russell?
Airdrie striker. He's one player, he's battered in about 20 odd goals in the season. I said to him, there's your teammates there, would you like to thank them?
Big handsome.
No, but you know what the key of this whole thing was? Ruffy will say, the pause. He just looked at me as if to say, I'm not thanking them, it was all about me.
Big China's
I know, but the best of that is Higdon, who was completely and utterly 3 sheets to the wind when he won Player of the Year.
He ended up his night as a guest of Her Majesty.
Yes, absolutely. Ruffy and I managed to escape that night with him, but anyway, he stood at the edge of the stage in his Scouse accent and he went, I'm not coming up. I said, you've won Player of the Year, come up. And he went, no, he said, you're going to leather me. I said, absolutely, I'm going to leather you.
And you did.
And I did, but he was a great lad, Michael, not to be seen again. Where is he now? But nevertheless, Dundee had a new manager. Some of us have our own opinion on Mark McGee coming in as the manager, but he was in, and I think he was encouraged by the display from his team.
We lost a couple of goals that were probably avoidable, you know, but we were beaten by a better team. But I thought our performance was good. A lot of really encouraging things about it. Particularly, I expected that they would work hard, that they would roll their sleeves up and work for each other, if not yet for us, because we're only just in the door. But I asked them to get the ball down at times and pass the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Dundee, 2 set pieces, they took full advantage.
Yeah, and they defended in numbers, you know, like everybody behind the ball, you know, and again, no throwing stats about it, but I mean, 81% possession in a game, and you come away with 2 each, there's something in that, you know, and there was at one stage that they were defending so deep that the 2 Celtic centre-halves were nearly around about their 18-yard box.
Yeah.
That's how much they had them pressed in, but if that's your game plan and you get away with it, then you're going to be patting everybody in the back at the end. Unfortunately, they never got away with it, but he'll take something out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, they scored 2 goals, and I can't remember which manager that mentioned it. Probably many managers have mentioned it. We're not here to entertain Celtic and Rangers fans. We're there to try and punch above our weight against both these sides. Hugh Scott has come up with a belter. Hugh says, Peter, the best one was Christian Daly shouting cheats at the Germans. When Bertie Vos is getting interviewed, and he's firing it out. I think Bertie's shouting, Christian, stop! Yeah, an absolute belter. You're right, Hugh. Thanks for remembering that one. But players, when they decide to go for it, absolutely. So, with that in mind, you look at the title race. Here are the stats since the winter break between Celtic and Rangers and the games they played. You know, Celtic 21 points from 21, Rangers 12 from 21. You get Celtic with 7 wins, no draws, no defeats, goals for 18, goals against 5. And as you can see, Rangers 3 wins, 3 draws, 1 defeat, goals for 13, goals against 8. It is a total contrast from that title-winning season under Steven Gerrard at Tam, because, you know, nobody could score against Rangers.
No, they're conceding a lot of goals, even set pieces. You know, the goal on Sunday was a poor goal to lose from their point of view. They've just not come back for the break in the same form. You know, and Celtic have been ruthless. You know, 7 wins out of 7. A lot of them have been late on. You know, and Rangers are probably sitting going, they're going to drop points here. Bang, Celtic scored in the last 5 minutes, which can sicken the other supporters, sicken the other team. You know, if that direct opponent keeps scoring and winning late, you know, it becomes a habit where you think they're going to score. And so listen, I think Celtic now have got to be the favourites to go and win the league. But 2 Old Firm games to go. The thing is, Rangers have no margin now. They've no margin for error now, Rangers. They need to win. I think it's 15 points to play for before the next Old Firm game. And for me, Rangers have got to take 15 out of 15.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. It's a great point of discussion, Ruffy, because Celtic are now unbeaten in 21 league games. And some people will say, okay, if the 15 points are up for grabs, you're taking it for granted that Celtic are going to win them all. But they do look like, even when they're scoring late on, that they're going to win these games. It's almost as if domestically there's an inner belief.
Yes, but I mean, I would disagree with it. It's not going to happen all the time. You're not going to get a goal in the last 2 minutes. Yeah, but if you play attacking football and you're continually attacking, and the team that you're playing against is letting you attack, yeah, you can get late goals. But I wouldn't bank on it happening all the time. And I think, I mean, I was at the game in midweek and they were a different quality for what we've got in our league. But that's 2 iffy performances for Celtic. So they really need to get their act together and start producing the form that they can.
Yeah.
I thought the interesting thing is, you know, when you talk about late goals, you know, you see, so how did the late goal come about? And sometimes you'll say, they put it in the mixer and they won the second ball. That's sometimes how you get a late goal. But the Celtic league goal is really interesting for me. It involved Juranovic chasing down, you know, he was back and he chased down somebody that was on the break. Probably got the ball 20 yards from the halfway line. He then sprinted, right, with the ball, played it wide, and see where Juranovic is at the end of the move, where he's no longer further involved, he's almost off the pitch.
Yeah.
He was looking for another ball, and he actually goes, you know, when he doesn't get the ball, he's almost exasperated. So in the last minute of the match, he's ran 70 yards to make a pass and to make an overlap. And that I think that's pretty telling, Peter. You know that what they're doing at the end of matches is still making the runs, still trying to create the openings. Yeah. They haven't he's not just said, won the ball, I'll hit it along to Giacomakis, you know, I'll do something like that, or I'll hit it down the channel. He's still trying to play, still trying to put the effort in, and I thought that was quite interesting because...
Is there a wee bit of luck though sometimes? Because I thought Rangers did the exact same thing, because Kent has a brilliant run where he sidesteps 2 players, a little bit of trickery, fires a shot just wide. The ball that's in for Morelos, it comes off him and doesn't know, and Seagrass makes the save. So
the whole thing's full of luck. I mean, you look at the guy, even the Dundee are on the break in the last minute. If Mark McGee's probably saying to the young boy that was running, that Juranovic dispossesses, just check out. Just check out.
McCowan went
just check out. Or there's 3 options. He checks out, it's a draw. He beats Juranovic and there's a good chance Dundee win, or he gets the ball taken off him.
Yeah.
That's you know, you talk about the real cliche fine margins for error, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that could be the real twist in this tale is, obviously, again, we don't know which Dortmund side are coming to Glasgow, but Rangers will feel confident, I think, at 4-2 of pulling off a great result to get into the next round. I'm not so sure about Celtic, you know, in their conference game, Tam, so suddenly you'll be thinking to yourself, does that have an impact if one of them were to go out?
I think it does, because the team that's out will play on a Saturday, and they'll have the chance to put the pressure on the other team that's playing on a Sunday. Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah, and no recovery as well.
No recovery.
It's not. I mean, you get into this argument with recovery. They should be able to play 7 days a week. Of course, they're able to play 7 days a week. They could play 3 games a day. These guys are so fit. But the point is, the performance goes down. You can't recover from a Thursday to a Sunday. You just can't. Every
Especially
sports
travelling as well.
Travelling. Sports science are serious. And the interesting thing about what's going to happen on Thursday is a more pragmatic and certainly maybe more focused manager on the league and a more practical thing. What kind of team would you send to the Arctic Circle on Thursday to come back and play Hibs on a Sunday?
Yeah, no, do you know what? It's an interesting point you make, because I was speaking to two former Celtic players at the weekend, Ruffy, who said, what's he bothering putting out a full-strength side against Bodo Glimt? It's all about £40 million in the Champions League kitty next season. Send out a couple of kids with them, and if it works out, it works out. No luck.
Yeah, I can see why you would come to that assumption. You know, it would obviously must be in the back of your mind, but you still want to win games. Before that game last week, they were talking about possibly going on and winning it. You know, so some people were.
Give me their names,
Oh,
Ruffy.
some people.
I'd already battered a few for thinking Celtic.
You know
could
what
win it.
like, you know, in the Conference League, you're going, look at the teams that are in it. If we play, we could get a good run in this. And now what you're saying is, well, we don't really want a good run in it. We want to win a league. So you can't have it both ways, you know, but you might want to sacrifice it. But that's a big sacrifice if you don't win the league.
Yeah. Okay, it's an interesting one. We'll wait
Ruffy
to see what it
spent his
develops.
weekend with Danny Boy, 1888.
Yeah, absolutely. Hugh, just before we go on to the Hibbies, what about Dortmund? 6-0 against Mönchengladbach. Are they capable, in your mind, of going there? Will Haaland play? Will they go there and have a go and try and believe that they can turn this over?
They'll believe it, okay. I mean, Haaland might be back. He's training with them. Reina won't make it, which is a big blow. He did his hammy at the weekend, and it'll be a long way back for him because he's got chronic problems here. That's a big blow because he gives Dortmund a lot of pace going forward. I think they'll play Hazard, though, to give them pace. They're capable of doing it, but they're also very, very capable of losing a goal. Yeah. So it's a big, big task for Dortmund. Yeah. Big task.
Okay, interesting one. Do you think they'll do it?
I don't. I think Rangers will do it. Yeah, I think Rangers have got enough in the tank to get through.
Okay, I was looking forward to getting through to Easter Road on Saturday, Tam, but the first half was rank rotten. I mean, at one point there with one of our journalists, our journalist who was sitting next to me, and Kerry just joining the team. She said, "What'll I write down?" I says, "Just write down the bookings." I said, because that's the only thing worth talking about. Other than, I mean, somebody tried to dive to win a penalty in the box. That was it. I mean, the first half was terrible, but the second half, I mean, I can see some signs of what he's trying to do now. You know, nice little passes, nice little intricate triangle passes, but then it just kind of falls down because somebody gets sloppy.
Yeah, I think you can start to see now in the last couple of games what Sean's trying to do. You know, they're trying to play intricate passing. You know, they're trying to play out from the back. You know, the wide areas, they're starting to get relationships. Ewan Henderson's a good player. Him and Cadden down the right-hand side linked up well. The other side, you know, get a young lad, Jasper, who's up from loan from Fulham, who looked lively.
I like him.
Yeah, good player. Him and Doig on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, for me, again, the thing for me is the striking, strikers. You know, the way I keep going on about Nisbet and all that, but he didn't have a great game again. But
well, don't worry, I told you about a year ago and you questioned me as if I was some kind of nutcase.
No, but the thing is, Hibs have not got anybody else. You know, they've got Doig, who I don't think the manager fancies, to be honest. Right. And apart from that, they've not got another striker. The young lad Melkerson they signed from Bodo Glimt has not been sighted. I don't know if he's not ready or whatever, but the Hibs fans are desperate to see him. He was on the bench, never got on, put James Scott on, so I think it's fallen down in that final third, but I think from the defensively in midfield, Hibs look good now. Yeah. They look good, they look solid, they look nice in the middle part, nice to look at in the final third. You know, two wonder goals from Jake Doyle-Hayes won the game. Yeah. You know, if it wasn't for him, it probably would have been a 0-0, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought his second goal was a peach, Tam. It's a contender, isn't it?
Aye, it's a great goal. As we spoke about Jake, I don't think he scored a goal for Hibs. He scored one goal for St Mirren, who was saying earlier. And the good thing was, I think he'd all his pals over from Dublin.
There were 17 of them. Yeah. I don't think Jake Doyle-Hayes was answering the phone on Sunday about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think he did a good night Saturday night, because I seen him after the game getting the pictures taken with him, so brilliant for him. What a great feeling for him. He scored 2 goals, now his pals are there. You know, absolutely buzzing for him, but he had a terrific game as well. He was superb. And it just shows you the highs and lows of football. I mentioned it when I was on the commentary. 2 weeks before he was a villain, you know, Stephen Kenny was there to watch him, he had a stinker to be honest, and he gave the goal away.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 2 weeks later he's absolutely fantastic and scores 2 great goals. But I did send Stephen Kenny the 2 goals.
Yes.
And said to him, you know, you've picked the wrong week. But no, I think you was delighted for him as well.
Yeah, and Sean Maloney, I think a lot of us were asking him whether he thinks Hibs are capable of getting that third spot.
Yeah, I think the gap between Hearts, I don't think I'd concentrate on that too much. I know, look, the fans and the city, particularly our supporters, obviously. But I think we have to respect, obviously, round about us. A big win today. We have to fight to stay in the top 6, and the 4th position is, I think, what probably 4 or 5 teams can all achieve. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about 3rd just yet. If we continue to play like we did in the second half, then we can, but lots of work to do first.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with regards to the manager who lost the game, sometimes a manager cannot say something and it tells you really what he's thinking about. He wasn't happy that the first goal was given for Hibernian. He thought there was a foul on one of his players. But when asked about the quality of referees and whether VAR is going to help them, this is what Malky Mackay had to say.
I think when VAR comes in, it will help. And there's moves afoot for that to happen for some clubs, and the league and the Scottish FA as of consultation for maybe from next year. I'm not sure, but there's certainly conversations about it because you see what it does in England. It actually takes away 97%. I think that's where it gets right up to in terms of mistakes.
Yeah, I think Malky makes a good point. I mean, when you look back at it again, the referee might have missed it. The assistants, that clip on one of his players, Payton, to stop him trying to close down Jake Doyle-Hayes for the first goal could have had an impact, changed the course of the game because obviously Hibs got a lift from it. But I think Malky was biting his lip. I could tell when I was interviewing him, trying not to slaughter the referees. But the one thing about VAR, it won't solve problems, but it's a percentage game, Tam. It will limit the mistakes.
Yeah, but we're talking about every game here, aren't we? We're talking about big decisions in games. You know, and it was a big decision, but you know, I think Ross County were poor. I thought it was the poorest I'd seen them. I didn't think they played well at all. You know, the danger men, Regan Charles Cook and Hungbo and even big Jordan White, none of them were really at it, and I thought Hibs ran out comfortable winners in the end. But no, I think the sooner VAR comes in, I think the better for everyone because you'll get those big decisions. You know, you get them all right.
Okay, Jim Goodwin. None of that sitting up in the stand waiting to be the manager. Boom, straight in, trackside, got the old Aberdeen tracksuit on. Let's get it on. He wanted a hands-on approach right away.
That's him though, isn't it? That's what he's all about. He'd been wanting to get in. I mean, I heard it was only 15 minutes I think he had in the Friday with his players and that. And he already tweaked his side. It's difficult to say. I wasn't at the game, so I only could see television highlights of it, and the highlights were pretty brief, but you know, it looked as if he changed the shape a wee bit, put McCrory in front of the back four, extra protection there. He'll look very careful at shoring them up first, and then progressing.
I think he'll realise that McCrory's not a centre half, Hugh, because I remember them playing Jim Goodwin at centre half at St Mirren, and he did not look comfortable there. Yeah,
I think he'll look at McCrory, put McCrory where he was when he broke into the Rangers team and just in front of a back four, which I think is his position as well. I think he's very good in the tackle and he's decent on the ball, McCrory, but height and physicality in the Scottish Premiership, I don't think he has it. So I think he's got real work to do. But having said that, there's decent things about Aberdeen. It's not, I mean, he's gone into a club that he's got to stabilise because they don't want to go anywhere nearer what's happening at the bottom, particularly now that St Johnstone are winning games. People are now going, you know. So they don't want to go down that. So there is a bit of pressure on there, and I think what he'll do is he'll concentrate defensively, set the defensive setup and take it from there.
Yeah, I think he's well aware that it was going to be tight, but he acknowledged, Jim Goodwin, that the preparation wasn't ideal ahead of his first game in charge.
The boys will never prepare for a game as badly as that, as long as I'm manager of the club, you know. But I had the option to go and sit in the stand beside the directors, and somebody else could have took the team. But no, that was never in my mind. As long as we got the deal done quick enough last night and we could get everything registered with the SFA this morning in time for kick-off, then I was adamant that I was going to manage the team.
Well, no disrespect to your pal Tam, but I think they've made a sensible decision getting somebody who understands what this league's about. And we're just going to speak to Andrew Shiney. I don't think they'll have any problems, looking down the way.
No, I think Aberdeen have got a lot of quality. I totally agree with you there. I think you'll look to shore up the defence first. I think that they can't keep a clean sheet. Their defensive record this season has been really poor. They've not struggled to score goals. They've got goals in them, but defensively they've been poor. Jim being a centre half, defensive minded player himself, defensive midfield player, he will go in there and try and get them to start keeping clean sheets, because if they start keeping clean sheets, they'll start shooting up the table. But before they do that, he's got to sort that back four out.
Yeah. Andrew, were you heartened by the fact that the manager was thinking, I'm not sitting next to the directors, I'm in there right away in the dugout?
Absolutely, Peter. I think it was a signal of intent from Jim Goodwin that he wanted to be in there from the word go. And, as he said, the preparation was far from ideal. But it was interesting to see that 10, 15 minutes into the game, he was tinkering. Adam Montgomery started the game at left back, made a couple of errors. Very quickly, there was a swap made. Johnny Hayes went back to left back. Montgomery went forwards. And as it turned out, it was a real masterstroke, because it was Montgomery that set up Vicente Bissauen for the goal. He put Ross McCrory into midfield, where I think he's more comfortable. But you're all absolutely spot on. He has recognised that the biggest problem Aberdeen have got is defensively. And that's the first thing that he's going to sort out. He said it's the easiest thing to sort out. I hope to goodness he's right, because at the moment, Aberdeen's central defence is soft as whatever you want to call it. You saw that with the goal. I mean, Declan Gallagher ragdolled by Kevin Van Veen, who only had one arm operating at that point. It was a soft goal to let in. But there were things there that I think Jim could see he could work on this week, and he will be on the training ground, I'm quite sure, with the players every single day this week to prepare for the next 6 games, which are vital going towards the break. After the split, rather.
The big question here, Andrew, is I don't think Scott Brown will want to be the centre of attention, but he's been linked with the St Mirren job, and I think Jim Goodwin mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, that he sees Scott Brown more as a player than any part of his coaching staff.
Yeah, he made the point that he is very hands-on on the training ground, and I think he feels that with Lee Sharp there, he doesn't want to have too many coaches. I don't think they want to have too many voices in the players' ears. He wants to get a single message across to them, because the next 6 games, Dundee United, Hearts, Rangers, Hibs, Dundee, Ross County, they're absolutely pivotal to the season, because if Aberdeen can get themselves into the top 6 and make a late push to get into Europe, well and good. But see if they're in the bottom 6 and they're looking forward to League Cup qualifying ties at the start of next season instead of European matches, that's going to be a big downer for everybody involved with the football club. So I think he will keep things pretty simple. And Scott Brown, he does have an injury at the moment. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. But I think, reading between the lines, Jim was suggesting that he sees Scott as player rather than coach at the moment. Coach maybe in the future.
Yeah, okay. We've dealt with the game. In the end, it finished 1-1. I've got to ask you this question. This week's quite a big one, because in the history of Aberdeen, Sir Alex Ferguson's name is synonymous with it. Could be quite an emotional day for Fergie, heading back up to the northeast and the unveiling of a statue in tribute to the great man.
Absolutely, and you have to ask the question, why on earth was it not put up 20, 30 years ago? But it's going to happen, long overdue in my opinion. But yeah, I think everybody at the football club is hoping that some of the magic that surrounds Sir Alex Ferguson may just rub off on the players, on the staff, on the fans, to try and lift what is a fragile confidence around the place at the moment. I mean, we saw good points in the second half against St Johnstone, and 1 or 2 good points on Saturday in what was just a battle at Fir Park. But if you can get the confidence lifted, I think as Jim himself said, it's not a bad group of players that he's inheriting, but they've got to find a way to win football matches.
Yeah, I was actually going to. I was going to give it the old cliche. The reason why they didn't have the statue 30 years ago, Andrew, is because you started collecting then, and you've just managed to get enough money in the kitty to afford the statue. But that would suggest you're tight, Andrew, and I don't want to do that because you're going to have to buy a round for us at some time in a staff party. So I don't want to revert to type.
You know me, Peter. I'm from Elgin. I am not Aberdonian. The most generous of spirits.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Listen, I get a feeling, and I hope I'm right with this, and we'll be able to tell every Monday. But just to finish, Andrew, I mean, it's hard because Bodjo's here was pally with Stephen Glass, but I think this is the right move with Jim Goodwin.
Yeah, I mean, I've been friends with Stephen Glass for a long, long time, and I was as disappointed as anyone when he lost his job. But when you look back on it, it was an experiment that didn't work. And in the football business, you cannot afford to have experiments that don't work. Aberdeen were on the slide. They needed something to change. For whatever reason, Stephen couldn't quite manage to get it changed. It will be interesting to see how Jim can turn things around. I mean, I've always been very impressed with the way Jim has spoken about the game as a manager, and I've been impressed with the way he's put St Mirren teams together. And I think he will know himself that he's got a big, big job ahead of him, but he's excited about it. And I think he's made a very good first impression by taking the team, 2 minutes after getting in the door almost. And I think the vast majority of fans are right behind him. So, as I say, the next 6 games are hugely, hugely important for Aberdeen. I think they've got to take 14 points out of the next 18 to get themselves into a position where they can really get a place in European football next season. So it's a big task for Jim Goodwin, but he's the man for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, as ever, always great speaking to you about Aberdeen and all things in the North East. Great to hear from Andrew Shiney. Interesting point he made there. He reckons they need to take 14 points from the next 18 to get into that top 6. It's crucial. Do you see them doing it?
I think it's a huge task. If you look at a team, if you look at the recent form, to go and then what you're talking about, to get 14 points at 18, you're talking about winning 4 games, drawn 2, aren't you? My maths. That's a big, big ask.
Yeah, I'm just looking here, just on that point, Tam, in the Premier League games. Hearts, Rangers, Hibs, Dundee and Ross County, and the next one up is Dundee United. So that's your next 6 games. I mean, can you see them getting 14 from it? I can't.
Next 3 are tough, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hearts away, Rangers away, Hibs at home. Dundee, they've got a great record against Dundee over the years, Aberdeen. And Ross County at home, yeah, you can see them possibly winning those 2, but big ask. If they can, they always raise their game, I suppose, against Rangers, Aberdeen, so you can see them going to Ibrox, maybe getting something, but Hearts away is a difficult game, and even though they're on a bad run at the minute. So I think it'll be a big ask, but if they can get into the top 6, Aberdeen, I don't think they're going to be that far off of 4th, because I think that everybody's going to beat everybody. Hibs are in that position at the minute on goal difference, but there's nothing between the teams. I think there was 3 points separating 4th and 9th. So,
do you think Hearts can't be caught then?
I just think there's nobody in behind them that's got any consistency. I think Hearts can maybe nick a couple of wins and still finish 3rd, but they're on a poor run at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, 2-1 for St Johnstone, that really did put the cat among the pigeons' shoe.
Yeah, and the way St Johnstone have changed the team, they've just decided that the team they had wasn't good enough, so we'll have a new one, please.
Yes, we'll just put 9 signings in.
This team's under warranty. Can we bring this one back? Because it's just changed.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the way it's changed from even the first goal against Hearts, and so it was a kind of unlike St Johnstone goal. Very quick passing down the flank, good passing inside. It wasn't the sort of let's see how the game pans out and then build from there. They were on the front foot right away.
Yeah.
And it's changed, and it'll send a tremor up everybody, because, anybody that's at the bottom of that league, because now it's always, if you're in the bottom 3 or 4 and you can say, well, they're gone, That takes the pressure off of your playing, but you cannot now say that St Johnstone are gone. You can't say that. It's a big, tough task for them. It's a tough task for Dundee, but you can't say they're gone.
Yeah, and I think Tam's right. Hearts have just gone off the boil in the last few weeks.
Yeah, they have, but obviously it just shows you a big player Craig Gordon is. I'm not saying he would have saved the 2 goals, but certainly his presence there would have maybe prevented it. And he's been sensational this year. But every team in the league has went through some kind of spell like 1-1 and 7, or every team, apart from Rangers and Celtic, everybody has went through that spell. It's just when you want that spell. Do you want it in the beginning? Do you want it in the middle? Or do you want it at the crunch? And they'll just have to grin and bear it until they start winning games.
Yeah, just one other game that we never get a chance to talk about, Tam, was Livingston 1, St Mirren 1. Couldn't separate the teams. Good goal for Bruce Anderson, but for St Mirren, they're waiting to see who their manager's going to be. Stevie Naismith's been talked about, also Scott Brown. Jack Ross didn't want to go back.
No, I think Jack Ross is looking for a job in England. I think he still lives in England. He was still living in England when he was the Hibs manager. So I think his family, his 2 daughters are all settled in that Northumberland, northeast of England. So I think he'll be looking to get back to England. So I would rule him out of St Mirren job immediately. Stephen Naismith is an interesting one, obviously coaching at Hearts. Scott Brown's an interesting one, speaking to Bruni. I think it depends on how bad his injury is now, because if he gets a St Mirren manager's job, he will
Would you believe it?
Retire.
Would you believe it? Just obviously I like to stay abreast of these things, but Stephen Robinson's set to be named as the new St Mirren manager in the next few hours. Agreement in place with Morecambe to pay compensation, and it looks as if he's coming back to Scottish football. What do you make of that, Hugh?
It came out of the blue. I was wondering last week, I think we mentioned in the show last week, that why, Robinson not being mentioned in the Aberdeen conversations is interesting, because he was the sort of guy that could, they were looking for somebody to steady the ship. I think they've got the right man in Goodwin, by the way, but that is, the Scottish press, of which I am part, have all been hurtling down one side. Meanwhile, wee back door opens and Stephen Robinson moves in. Because there was big chat about Stephen Naismith and Scott Brown. Interesting move. I don't think it's a bad move either. He did well at Motherwell.
Yeah, neither do I. I like Stephen Robinson.
I thought the day he went in, or before he went into Motherwell, you could see that everything was changing in the coaching side, and then obviously got the job. And again, he's a manager that comes over well in the press conferences. When you're asking him questions, he gives you an honest answer, and I think the players that played under him as well thought he was a terrific coach.
Derek Adams back to Morecambe.
Yeah,
I was just going to say Derek Adams there for the St Mirren job.
Derek's done. He's done well.
He done well at Morecambe, then went and got a bigger job at Bradford, and then he go back to Morecambe.
Yeah, Bradford's one of those clubs. I don't know what it is, Hugh. I always have them in the same boat as Sunderland.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, since they came out of the Premier League, they kill managers off. Just kills their career.
And real clubs. I always say it. I mean, Sunderland. I went down a couple of years ago to Sunderland, and you come out there, and they were in League Two, and you're coming out. Sorry, League One, the third division, and you're coming out, and you're looking at this. This is a Premier League.
Oh, it's a Premier
Stadium.
It's a Premier League
concourse.
club,
You go in, there's 50,000. You go, what?
I think it was only 30,000 at the weekend, but sometimes it can become disillusioned with it all. But I always think as soon as you get the Sunderland job, it's the kiss of death to your career.
It has been, and good, strong managers of it's a far off day from they were slaughtering Niall Quinn for finishing in the bottom 6 and things like that in the Premier League.
Well, absolutely. So let's have a look at the Premier League table to see exactly how it all pans out then. And as Hugh mentioned there, you can no longer think St Johnstone are suddenly going to be the team that's going down. And I think Ross County, I mentioned to Malky at the weekend, Ruffy, what does he make of the current predicament of them? He didn't think he was in a predicament. He's just looking and saying, we know what we've got to do. We've got to focus on ourselves here and not worry about St Johnstone or Dundee if they manage to gather a few more points.
they've got to win their home games. When they come up against the St Johnstons and Dundees and Livingstons and that's where their strength has been.
Who's going down, Ruffy?
I'm still sticking with Ross County.
Yeah.
I think they've had their good run. I think they will struggle now if St Johnstone start winning games.
I thought Ross County still played some good football, Tam, even though Hibs got the goals in the second half.
Ross County no good in for me.
Not for me.
No chance.
No.
I think it's right at the bottom too.
And remember as well, Tam, a point that quite a lot of people don't know is if Ruffy hasn't finished his main course, he misses the first 10 minutes of most games. And then if he takes a suite,
If he's in the hospitality, he's absolutely blut up.
Yeah, you're right off the first half. So, and of
We'll
course,
see. We'll wait and see.
yeah, absolutely.
Time
we
will tell.
Hugh, Ross County.
Not for me, but
No.
I will say that Ruffy is the top of the predictor table.
Oh, I
Well,
see that,
of
yeah.
course, you must be absolutely delighted, Ruffy.
Just as well I pulled the scores up yesterday. You know,
Well, I was going to say, you did well there, Tam. There's a wee bit of jiggery pokery.
Grass.
Alan Ruff,
I helped
238. Alison McConnell, 236. I did say that Alison would be reeled in. I thought it would be myself, but I'm having an absolute shocker. I am so bad that Tam is only 3 points behind me. I'm on 222. Tam's on 219. Hugh, you're tucked in nicely in 218. And I think we all know Tam's buying the meal. because obviously he's kindly taken up Gabriel's post. And I think he's resigned to it, but I think we might help
The
him.
good thing though with Tam is that you'll know whatever happens it's going to be really funny because he'll come out. He'll be thinking now about what meal he's going to take. I'll be something. I've not even got in my head what he can come out with.
You think it'll be Chateaubriand?
Oh,
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
I mean, like Châteauroux at Hamilton.
I'll tell you.
it's-
I'll tell you one thing that's a bummer, Hugh. See, when Ruffy loses, you actually feel conscious of somebody looking at you when you're ordering something.
did that last time, remember we went out?
Remember you were ordering Tam and you
Because I get
felt
steak in my pasta, he was just staring at it. I have to say, why are you getting meat in your pasta?
it make you feel uneasy about ordering anything of quality.
Another pint? Another pint? Get me on! There's £4 a pint in here!
No exaggerating. They ripped the backside of it. Ripped the backside of
Not
it.
surprised. Not surprised.
Oh dear, you can't just go in there and have something.
I'm saving. Well, put it this way. I'm saving my heating allowance for it anyway, Peter, just in
You
case.
kidding, by the way? You kidding?
Oh, he's got plenty tucked away all here.
John Paul Getty. you, by the way, if suddenly you collapsed, by the way, we would have had one heck of a meal with him paying. Anyway, what about the English Premier League? Here's the results from the weekend. West Ham held Newcastle, suddenly starting to get it together there. Arsenal winning against Brentford. What a big win for Watford against Villa. And then, of course, Burnley surprising everyone with that 3-0 win over Brighton. Chelsea won. Liverpool came back after going a goal down. Southampton beat Everton. Man United had a big win against Leeds. Wolves have put Leicester to the sod 2-1. And then the big shock was at the Etihad. Man City 2, Spurs 3. And I mean, he could have had a hat-trick. Harry Kane, one of them was chopped off.
What a player.
What a player.
How you're centre forward? Is he? I mean, Lewandowski's obviously everybody's number 9 and all that, but I mean, you must be pushing Lewandowski now, surely.
I just think that if Harry Kane was playing in any other team, if Harry Kane was playing for Bayern Munich, he would score 50 goals a season. He would. If he was playing for Man City, he'd score 50 a season. I was actually looking at his record because a pal of mine was saying, oh, Kane, he's had a bad season, he's only scored 7 goals or something. And I say, he scored something like 173 goals in 220 games from the Premier League. He's 1-1, in the Champions League. His record, he's scored 44 and 42 for England.
I watched him. He came on. I was down at the game, the European Conference League that Spurs were playing a team called NC Mirsa, right? And they were struggling. They were struggling absolutely up against it. And it was 1 each. And it was like bringing on the big boys. They brought him, Son and Moore on. And like, I've watched a lot of football, but he scored a hat-trick in about 15 minutes. See his movement. We were high up.
Yeah.
And his movement, his pace, his touch. I thought,
But by the way, this is a guy who creates as well.
That's what I'm saying. I thought he was a good player, very good. I thought he was an excellent player. That night I just went, oh my goodness, no one. I mean, imagine him at Man City.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely be incredible. And what about Brendan? He's under pressure at Leicester. I mean, the St Mirren job, it hasn't quite come up at the right time, Ruffy, for the balance.
He'll be sitting in the house wondering what other sides he used to support when he was younger. Just before he decides which one of them have got the most money.
It's that old syndrome, though. I thought he was absolutely brilliant winning the FA Cup for them, getting them onto the verge of the Champions League. But it shows that the other manager that's really interesting is Bielsa at Leeds, because they've lost the parachute as well.
Absolutely.
And he was always Bielsa, and I know everybody reads what I've read about him as well. Fascinating character. But his second season at clubs is always really dodgy.
Well, that's because plan A, he persists with it. There's no plan B.
And his players as well get fatigued because his training is incredible.
Well, if I was any team in the Premier League who are looking at Leeds, if they're going to cherry pick them, I'd take Rafinha.
Oh yeah,
and of course, I think Man United. I remember sitting next to Sir Alex, and he said one player I really have in the United midfield is Calvin Phillips. I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if United, obviously they're heavily linked with Rice at West Ham, but he was raving about him as well. So who knows in the transfer merry-go-round. Just a couple of points before we finish, guys. Thanks to so many of you for hitting the subscribe button. That's absolutely fantastic. More and more people subscribing to the channel. More and more people actually realising we're exclusively on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We're delighted that you could join us. There's lots of unique content. Tam's picked his dream team. Hugh's picked a cracker of a dream team. And Ruffy's, I think, is going to take some beating. I just picked a Liverpool one, just to annoy people giving me pelters. But there's some really good dream teams in there that you might want to. We've even got a classic one from Henrik Larsson. There's been a few variations on it as time goes on, but I got the original from him, and it's well worth watching that. Champions League places, the way things are looking at the moment, maybe next 2 or 3 years we could have one team going straight into the Champions League group stage if we can maintain that 9th spot in the coefficient, Ruffy.
Yeah, and we're relying on other teams obviously to fail, so we can keep ahead of them or jump ahead of them. But it's important that we get more and more clubs playing after December into January, February. It's been disappointing.
Absolutely. I'd love to see clubs out with Celtic and Rangers get into the Conference League, get into the groups, get into the group stage of the Europa League as well. It really would be brilliant for the game, and financially for some clubs it would be fantastic. Also, I have to say, Owen McGrandle says, I got an alert for the show today for the app, Peter. Yes, Owen, I'm glad you mentioned that, because obviously we're starting to send out those push notifications to people, because if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you can watch the show live, which is great. If you're on your phone, you're out somewhere, and you may be chatting to someone who's boring, Ruffy, and then you think to yourself, I could just sit here on my phone and watch the football show on your phone.
Yep.
We're sending out the push notifications. You download the app, it's got all the breaking sports stories, and it's Scotland, England, Europe, world football, and you can actually record yourself in it as well, Ruffy, and post a message about your favourite team, and we could put it on the show.
That's fantastic. Modern technology.
Absolutely.
Do you ever watch stuff on your phone, Alan?
No.
He does. How you do?
Yeah.
Occasionally I forgot about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on. Nice to see Brian Rice, Chipper, back in football as the manager of Alloa.
Yeah, delighted for him. Worked with Chipper at Falkirk. Great guy, great coach. Delighted for him. He's back in. Alloa's a good club. They're in they for many years have been the best part-time club in Scotland.
Yep.
Dumbarton were obviously up there as well. Now it's Arbroath by a mile. So I think if Alloa can get back up to those heady heights in the Championship, they can be that top part-time team again. But that's a great job for Brian.
Yeah, brilliant. Great to see him back in the game. He loves football. He's a great lad as well. We had him in here for a classic 1-to-1. Brilliant. Great footballer as well for some of the younger people who might not know at Nottingham Forest. What a left peg he had on him. Just to finish and spare a thought, Hugh, for New Zealand's Michaela Moore. She was hauled off in an international because basically she lasted 40 minutes against the USA. I think she was in tears because quite simply she'd scored 3 own goals, and it was the perfect 3.
That was the
left foot, right foot header.
That's what got me. It was a perfect own goals.
Check her betting account.
Taken off to avoid further humiliation. I felt, God bless her.
Yeah,
outrageous giving the ball for that trick.
Yeah, for the hat trick. Only you can think of that, Ruffy. In her despair, I must admit, I felt for her. There's not many players I can think of. I mean, I can remember Willie Gardner scored 2 own goals.
As well, Peter.
When he signed for Celtic from Aberdeen.
Yep.
But I can't think of anybody scoring 3. A hat-trick of own goals. I mean, Terry Butcher, he went through a phase of scoring some belter own goals.
Stephen Craigan.
They weren't. He went through a phase as
Richard
well.
Dunn was the famous one. I think he's got the most own goals in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's a good shout, Tam.
Big Richard Dunn.
Yeah, have you scored a few own goals? Any?
No.
No.
I was never back defending.
No, that's fine. Okay. Brilliant. That's like to hear from Tam. Great to hear from Tam. Good to have Hugh in on a Monday. It's quite unusual. Usually it's a wee bit more highbrow on a Tuesday, isn't it?
I can't believe Alison's taking a cream puff because he's not top the prediction.
Well, absolutely. She's in the witness protection programme at the moment.
Tony Soprano's linked for her.
Yeah, that's what happens when you criticise
William Soprano.
Yeah, exactly. When you criticise certain people who just cannot take it. Anyway, apart from anything else, the one thing you will get on the show is you'll get the opinion, get a bit of banter. We read out a lot of your messages. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends, share the stream, and download the PLZ Soccer app if you can. From Hugh, Ruffy, Tam McManus and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching.